and then at the last second, try to turn away, steer early, and then get your car positioned. On your driving test, you're going to get asked to do 1 of 4 maneuvers. I'm going to show you the different ways that you can fail on them and how to avoid them. Let's go. When you're asked to do a parallel park, the examiner will tell you exactly what you need to do. And one of the first things you have to do before you move off is make sure you're checking around properly. And this is a thing that a lot of people fail for. So instead of just checking here and then driving out, which you will probably get a fail for this because you haven't done your proper checks, you need to make sure that before you move out, you're checking your mirror, checking this mirror, checking over your shoulder, and then if it's safe, then you can move out, only when it's safe to do so. When you stop behind the car like this, you notice I've got lots of room between me and the car. So examiners will usually get you to park or get you to stop like this before you start the maneuver. And the mistake some learners make is they waste this space. So instead of going out straight away into the road, what they'll do is they'll drive forward first, and then at the last second, try to turn away. And this way they're gonna get too close to the car. You're gonna fail like this if you get too close to the car. Even if you don't touch the car, if the examiner feels that you're too close or that they have to intervene, you're gonna fail the test because you're getting too close. So instead, what you should do is, once you're ready to come out, make sure you're checking over your shoulder and then steer early, and then get your car positioned next to the car you're parking next to. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So once these guys have gone past, checking over my shoulder, see my steering's already turned, I'm using my clutch control to control my speed, and then now I would go beside the car. This way I'm not too close and I'm not gonna cause any issues to this car or for myself. And to know that you're far enough away, just imagine this person's opened their door and leave enough space for them to have the door open. So like now if they've opened the door, there'll be enough space for them to do that. If I'm so close that they can't open the door, then you're most likely going to be too close to the car. So just imagine this car's door open, and if there's enough space for them to do that, you should be far enough away. Now when it comes to actually reversing back, another mistake learners make is they move around when there's other cars about. So if this car's going past us, I'm supposed to be stopped here, let them go past first and then carry on. But what a lot of learners will do sometimes is they'll just reverse anyway, even if there's cars around them. You're going to get serious for observation here for that. So you need to make sure that you stop for any vehicles that are going past, anything near you, even pedestrians that are close by, cyclists, anyone going past, make sure you stop for them. So when the car gets close enough, we stop, let them go past, check around, and then carry on your maneuver. A myth that a lot of learners believe is that if you touch the curb, you're going to fail the test. This is not true. So if you just touch the curb with your back wheel, and just say I'm going to touch the curb now, like there, and then I can feel it, but I'm not going to mount the curb, I can easily correct this. Just make sure I go into first, check around everywhere, and then go forward. This way, I'm not going to fail because I didn't actually mount the curb. Where you will fail is if you go so far back that you actually go onto the pavement and mount the curb. This is going to be a problem, especially where there's a dropped curb. When you're doing your parallel park and then you're reversing back, and if you feel a nudge or a bit of resistance and your car is not going back anymore, don't force it over the curb, because the reason why it's struggling to go back is because the curb is holding it from going back. But if you use enough force, if you bring the clutch up enough, eventually it's going to go over the curb, and then this is where you're going to get a serious fault because you're now mounting the pavement, which is not a great idea. Another mistake that learners make is finishing off way too wide from the pavement. Yeah, and the reason why a lot of learners do this is because they're using the car in front as a guide. So they'll use that car and then they'll try to straighten up their wheels based on what this car in front of us is saying. You can't really judge how far you are like that. A good way to make sure that you're not too wide is using the small mirror to judge how close you are to the curb. So instead of using this car in front of me here, I'm using this mirror on my left. I'm also looking around as I'm doing that. And then that way, I can tell when the car is coming in close to the curb, and then I can straighten up my wheels and then stop once I'm happy that I'm parked up nicely. So don't use the car in front to judge how close you are to the curb, use the small mirror. And if you're finishing wonky, you will see that the mirror, the image in the mirror is not straight, it's not parallel. It should look like this in the mirror, nice and straight. That's how you know it's not wonky. When you're asked to do a right reverse, What you don't want to do is cut in front of his car. That's going to get you a serious fault straight away. The examiner will probably brake for you, but it would be a dangerous fault actually. So don't do that. If there were any cars coming, I would wait here, and then once they've gone past, check my mirror, and then start going towards the right. Once you get here now, some people, they'll go too far to the left and smack into the curb, and that's going to get you a serious fault because poor steering is not ideal. You don't want to be smashing into the curb or mounting the curb as you pull up on the right hand side. When you're reversing, the cars that are going past us have priority. So like this car here, we should actually stop for them. And the reason why some learners fail is because they'll keep reversing even when there's cars next to them. If there's any road users next to us, we want to make sure that we stop fully, let them go past first, do our checks again, and then reverse if it's safe. One easy mistake that lots of learners make is just keeping the steering wheel still. And sometimes you might turn a bit left like that and then keep it still. And what's going to happen here, over time, the car is going to go further and further away from the curb. And before I know it, if I'm not checking this mirror, it's going to be too far into the road. Not ideal. And if you don't correct this, you're going to get a serious fault. So instead of doing it like that, what you should be doing is making sure that you're making adjustments based on what you're seeing in the mirror. So I'm looking everywhere, looking this side, and then when I'm turning as well, I'm making sure that I'm not moving my steering wheel just because my head is moving. Because a lot of learners, what they'll do is they'll do that, and then, you see, they'll turn their wheels without meaning to. So be mindful of that and make sure you're keeping it straight, and then keeping an eye on this mirror as well, making small adjustments, stopping for anybody going past us because they're priority. I don't want to be turning in front of them or moving too close to them. Once they've gone, keeping an eye on that mirror again, making small adjustments. I don't used to do big adjustments here, which leads me to the other mistake that lots of learners make. On this maneuver, they use too much of a big turn. They'll turn massively like this when they don't need to. Then like this, they'll end up clipping the curb or mounting the curb. Or even the other way as well. When they're trying to make small adjustments, they'll turn too much to this side, and then they might end up clipping the curb with the front wheels, and also end up with the back of the car sticking out into the middle of the road. So remember, the briefing that you're going to get from the examiner is reverse back 2 car lengths, keeping reasonably close to the pavement. And if you're not reasonably close to the pavement when you finish, it's going to be an issue. You need to make sure you're correcting it along the way while also looking around to make sure that it's safe.